Hands down, guide communication is one of the most popular topics when it comes to developing spiritually and developing your intuition. There's a reason for this, and I love this topic. So, if you are looking to improve your guide communication, if you want to open up guide communication, heck, if you just want to know who in the world is on your guide team, this is going to be the episode for you. This is why I love this podcast because I get to just dive deep into different topics. And better yet, I get to do that when it's the right time. Now, at the time of this recording for this podcast episode, it is the end of 2024. We are stepping into the year 2025, not to mention, little side note, we're jumping into a whole lot of Aquarius, which is really, really cool. And it doesn't matter when you're listening to this episode, everything we talk about in here is going to be true to you at the time that you're listening to it. Today, I want to cover a bunch of things in reasonable amount of time. We'll see how much we can get into one episode here, but I want to talk about spirit guides. I want to talk about your team. I want to talk about who's on your team, what they're really doing, and ways that you can effectively communicate with them and be a part of the team. So I'm going to throw at first a bunch of information at you, some concepts to consider. Then we're going to talk about some tips and ideas on how to approach guide communication. And lastly, I will end with some activities that you can do right away to start honing that communication between you and your team. So let's jump in. Let's start with, who is this team? Who is this magical, intuitive, spiritual team that we hear about? Now, I will preface this by saying I have students, Sage Circle members all over the globe, all walks of life. One of the things about my teaching style is I do not subscribe to the concept that one path is the only path and it's the only way. So all of my teachings are going to be presented in such a way that you can apply them to your path, because my job isn't to tell you what to do or how to do it. My job is to give you the tools to apply to your path the way that you do it to enhance what you're already moving toward. Put it that way. So when it comes to the team, people say, okay, who is this spiritual team that I have? What is this guide group, spirit team, cheerleaders of ethereal realms? What the heck is this? The spirit team is really, in a lot of different translations, a lot of different terminology. It's a group of conscious loved ones, guides. Some people call them angels. Some people call them companions that are on the other side. They have not come down to this physical plane, and they have not anchored into this linear time to help you in this lifetime. They are on the other side helping you from that perspective, you could say. So the easiest way for me to explain this is, let's say you are on the other side, you haven't come down here yet, you are hanging out with your soul team, your soul group. Who's your soul group? Everyone that you're close to in this lifetime, and then many others who are on the other side still. But you're hanging out with your soul group, you're all sitting around, bunch of comfortable couches, just sipping some, spirit tea. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go down and I'm going to have a life. I'm going to go down there to earth. I'm going to have a life. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this and this and this. Here are my main goals. Here are the things that I want to experience while I'm down there. And someone says, oh, okay, I'm going to go with you. I'll be your brother. Awesome. Somebody else says, I'm going to be your best friend. I'll meet you when we both turn 31, right? Or someone else says, I'm going to stay back on this round, but I will support you from the other side. That soul connection is a guide. Now, we have guides that are soul connections just like that, where they never come down to this linear format that we call, Earth with us in this lifetime, but they stick around on the other side and they stay connected to you to guide you. The cool thing about these, and this is what I would put probably in the top category of spirit guide. These souls, these spirits that don't come down, but they work with you while you're here, they have the best perspective. They can see everything going on currently. They see everything that's happened and they see everything that's going to happen in the future because they're not on linear time. So you say to your soul group, all right, this is the lifetime I'm going to have. I'm going to go down. I'm going to link into linear time. The second you link into linear time, you can't see anything coming up. And you remember what happened in the past. But point being is you don't have unlimited access to what's coming up in your future. This is where your soul team on the other side does. They know the direction you're moving, what you need. They know your goals. They know your the experiences that you want to have. They even know them a little bit better than you do because they're not limited, right? They have that wider lens. Now, other members of your soul team may include, but are not limited to, people who have been in this lifetime with you, and then they pass and they cross over and they become a part of your team. These could be loved ones, grandmothers, grandfathers, parents, siblings, friends. I've even seen professors who, really connected with, their college student and Joe's in college and his professor it thinks, highly of him. And then the professor passes and says, I have some knowledge to give Joe. Right. And so the professor jumps on the spiritual team for a period of time. Now, so I'm going to leave it at that because I want to give you, I want to really make sure in this session that we talk about ways to start approaching guides and how to connect with them, relax into communicating with them, and how to really be a part of the team. During the time of this recording, I am putting together a complete spirit guide course. So if you're listening to this, it's either going to be out in a couple of days or it's going to be already out. So we'll go into a lot more depth, but this podcast episode, we've got a goal here, you and I, is to end this with you saying, okay, here are the tools I'm going to use. Here's the concepts I'm considering. Now I'm going to open up with more guide communication. So in general, what I would say is your team consists of people in your soul group who never came down in this lifetime, but they vowed to watch over you and guide you. People who did come down in this lifetime and they passed and crossed over. And they love and adore you and they're watching out for you, especially in times where they can provide you perspective or wisdom. Also on this team can be occasionally higher ups, the angels, things like this. And I always pause on that because again, I work with people all over the globe. So there's different terminology that works. But that in essence is your spirit team. Your spirit team here on earth, we've got loved ones who were here with us and then they crossed over. Now they're watching over us. We have those on the other side that are in spirit form. They may never have come down here, but they're part of your soul group and they're going to watch over you while you're here. And then occasionally you've got a higher up or a particular type of guide or a particular energetic vibration that is going to work with you. And all of your spirit team is going to work with you in such a way that they're present for you with what you need to do currently to get where you want to go. And they have that bigger perspective to know how to guide you, sometimes even better than you know how to guide yourself. So let's talk about taking that left or the right. What if they give us the wrong answer? What if they tell me to go this way and it ends up not working out? If you are having that process where you're like, I tried and I thought I got an answer and it ended up being wrong, I want to lovingly challenge you with like all the love in my heart to look back in life and find all those times that you thought you took a wrong turn. How did those transform where you are today? How did those get you to this point? Were there things in your life that you wanted, but you didn't get as fast as you wanted them? And then we can look at that and go, well, they didn't guide me the right way. Otherwise, it would have happened quicker, right? Who wants it quickly? You. So The divine timing as well can sometimes be in conflict with our patients. And this is the next concept I want you to consider with guide communication. And I'll start by saying this: guides will tell you what you need to hear in the moment that you need to hear it. They are always working in your favor. They are always working to get you to that end point, that goal, that spot that you want to get to in your life. But they see the divine timing with a lot more clarity sometimes than we do. They know the directions that you need to take in order to get to that end goal with everything that you need to have under your belt ready to go when you reach that point. Guides don't tend to just give you what you want. This is another misconception that's out there. I want this, I want to manifest it, and talking to my guides, I need you to get me this. And we say, and the guides say, that's adorable. That's great. That's a good idea. Now, sometimes it's kind of like management. They're not really going to let you manage yourself, because if you manage yourself in certain situations, you are, remember, on linear time, blocked from all future knowing and making a decision typically based in desires, wants, and needs, and not the overall picture. When this is happening, you don't really give the management reins to that person. So the guides usually step back and say, okay, we see what she wants. We understand why she wants it. She's got a good purpose behind it. So let's get her there, but let's make sure the timing is correct. Let's make sure that the flow on how to get there is correct. And let's make sure along the way, she collects that which she needs to get there. Oh, and lastly, let's make sure when she gets there, she's ready to be there. So you set a goal and you say, this is what I want. This is what I want. I want this to happen for me. And our first human instinct is, how quickly can I get there? How quickly can I get out of what I'm trying to get out of and get into what I want to get into? And we can get so driven to see that end goal sometimes, or we want it so bad that we don't necessarily take into consideration all that we really emotionally and in alignment need to be able to get there and then thoroughly experience it in the highest point. So that's the guides. That's the guides. They are like unconditional, loving parents who are going to get you to that point. They're going to support you. They're going to be right by your side. They're just not going to let you make any mistakes around it that would stop you from getting there. So sometimes when these bumps come on the road, right? We're like, all right, this is the goal and I'm heading toward it. I've talked to the guides and I've told them what I want, right? And we're working toward it. Sometimes it doesn't happen as fast as we want. Sometimes it doesn't unfold the way we want it to. And I'm going to give you an affirmation right now, as a matter of fact, that is really helpful to ease patience, ease fear, ease the unknowing discomfort. When things are not unfolding exactly the way that we think that they should unfold, sometimes it helps to change the perspective and change the lens with one simple sentence. Instead of pushing and why isn't this working and why isn't it happening fast enough, taking a step back and saying this sentence. Well, that is interesting. That is interesting. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. That sentence alone can be 3 words. That is interesting. When you say that sentence, very short sentence, easy, with the perspective of curiosity, it will pull you out of the loop that is blocking you, and it will shift you into the perspective that aligns you into the energy of bringing toward yourself that which you need to make this actually happen. Stepping back and observing it from a bigger perspective, which is exactly what that sentence does. Well, this is interesting. I like to put the well in front because it kind of reminds me to be, a little lighthearted about it. Not this is interesting, but well, this is interesting. Takes you back a step, just enough to look at a bigger picture. And then you might catch something that you were missing. You release uh, that attachment that to the outcome that is pulling you so hard that you're getting in your own way, and you might be able to see it in a bigger perspective. Also, when you pull back into a larger observational viewpoint, guess what you're pulling back into? You're pulling back into the space where your guides reside. Your guides are not in this moment panic stricken, trying to figure out how to make it work, feeling desperate or feeling this way or feeling that way around why it's not doing this, why it's not doing that. That's not where they are. Now, side note, if you are feeling that way, you need to feel that. Feel it, be in it, just don't stay in it. Okay. So if you need to have a moment of frustration that something's not working the way you want it to work, have the moment, but then move on. Okay. And then when you can, we step back into this perspective of, well, that's interesting. Now you're standing side by side with your guides. And because your guides are all going, yep, that is interesting, isn't it? Good. Now let me tell you how it's going to unfold and let me give you some signs. Starting to relax into trusting that your team is there for you is one of the techniques. It is one of the tools. You may have heard people say, the universe is working in my favor. I apply this to spirit guides and your spirit team as well. They are working in your favor, but that's what they're doing. They're working. They're not giving you everything you want. They're working to give you the overall big picture of what you came down here for and what you want. Now, when it comes to communicating with them, here is some of the other concepts I need you to consider. And when you consider these concepts and you shift a little bit into relaxing into this particular concept that I'm going to talk about next, actually, you start to relax that block that is between you and your guides. And this concept is the one that I love the most. Stepping back into understanding that you're on the team, that this isn't you in charge of a team, that this isn't you, demanding orders and saying, hey, this is what I want. You are actually a part of the team. What does this look like? When we pull back from, I want this, I want that, I want this, and I want that, and I want it quickly, and I want it to happen tomorrow, and I want so much of this and so much of that. Now, don't get me wrong. I do affirmations all day long. I do them all the time. I attribute where I've gotten to partially because I am a dreamer and I consistently think about the things that I want to do in the future. I just don't put too tight of limits on it. And I understand that the guides are taking care of it for me. But instead of being kind of pushy with it, I decide what I want. And then I work with my spirit team in the sense of, what is it you want me to know to help you help me? So let me summarize that again. When it comes to requesting information from your spirit team or requesting something to unfold or happen, you set the affirmation, you're manifesting, here's what you want, and you're turning to your spirit team, your spirit guides to say, hey, this is what I want. What I don't do is say, get this for me now. Go out and get this, bring it to me right now. This is what I want. Instead, I decide I'm a part of my spirit team. And I say to my team members, you have a bigger perspective on what's going on in my life. You can see what's coming up more so than I can. So, to my spirit team, to my spirit guides, what is it you want me to know that will help me help you, help me help you, help me to achieve what I'm looking for with my manifesting? This style will open up doors for you left and right. It's a feeling of trusting. It's a feeling of connecting with your guides in such a way that you're like, all right, I respect that you have this bigger picture. I respect that you love me unconditionally, that you've got my back, that even though there are things that I might see coming up that I think are a good move, you know better than I do, and I'm going to listen and I'm going to trust and I'm going to work with you not ask you to work for me. Now, the universe is working for us. Our guides are working for us. Yeah, absolutely, hands down. But we're not commanding it. We're saying, hey, this is what I want. I'd like to work with you to make it happen. This is where guide communication starts to open up with the most ease. This one simple concept of saying to your guides, I am on the team. I'm working with you. What do you need me to know to help you help me? This approach, you could say, is absolute gold. Absolute gold. It hits a couple strong points. Number one, you're not alone. Number two, you do have a team that's working with you. And number three, you're gently saying, I might not know everything coming up, and I might not be able to see everything coming up, but I have guides who do. They see what's happening, the direction that's best for me, and I'm going to work with them together to get me there. That is going to open up your guide communication very quickly and with a lot more ease than trying to simply force it. Okay, that's the tip that I love the most. Now, here's 2 techniques that I want you to try, right? So we'll listen to the technique, flip the podcast off, hit it as listened to, and then I want you to start using these in your day to day. The first one is defocus. And I've talked about this before, so if you've been following me for a while, you've heard this. But I want to have you play around with it with the concept that guides might not approach you or connect with you or communicate with you in the way that you expect. So this is what it looks like. Defocusing is the act of disconnecting from the agreed upon reality. So instead of focusing on the solid that's around you, right, on the desk, on the microphone, on the chair that you're sitting in, instead of focusing on the room around you, it's the remembering that guides are not here in the physical world. They are in the spiritual realms. The spiritual realms is not here in the solid. It's in between the solid. So defocusing means defocusing from the material world around you. Another way to say this is releasing and forgetting that the room is even around you, forgetting about your surroundings, forgetting about what's going on around you, and simply just relaxing into that space in between. Now, that's going to mean something different to different people, right? So you're going to hear that and you're going to go, okay, the space in between, or relaxing into the invisible, or relaxing into the spiritual realms, just setting your intent to kind of disconnect from the solid. If you have ever been in a wonderful either meditative state or daydreaming type state, you almost kind of forget where you're at, right? You drive somewhere and you drive somewhere every day for 3 months in a row, and soon you just don't even look at every single tree that you pass by. There is a relaxed state of being out of focus with what is in the material world around you. So however that comes into being, I want you to use your intuition and just sit with that and say, how is that coming up for me? However that comes up for you intuitively, go with it. And then the second part of this defocus is letting go of how you think the guides are going to come through. This is a huge block. And nobody's fault, but pop culture and how mediums do it and all that. We watch these things and we think, okay, I'm going to try it exactly like that. And I'm going to challenge you to just free flow. Just relax your gaze, close your eyes, disconnect from the agreed upon reality. Maybe you can, if you like scrying, try scrying. Just let the world around you fall away. And then release all expectations as to how your guide will communicate with you. You have 5 senses that are triggered by your 6th sense, which is your intuition. These 5 senses are going to be triggered, and they can be triggered and I mean good triggered, not the bad kind, but they are going to be triggered in a positive way. So you might think you're going to hear your guides, but you don't hear them, you feel them. Or you might think you're going to feel your guides, but all of a sudden you see something. And you might even have your eyes closed and see something. We have to let go of all of our preconceived notion, even if you have been doing this for a while. This practice is gold to increase guide communication when you let go of how you think it's going to happen. So, the framework for this, 5 minutes. Set a timer on your phone once a day for 5 minutes. Try to be in a room where nobody else is and there's no pressure and you're not late to something and you're relaxed. Step one, 2 steps, very simple. Step one, just let go of the agreed upon reality. Let go of all your preconceived notions of how guides might come through. Maybe they'll stand there, maybe they'll be behind me. Let go of all of that. And just for 5 minutes, relax, relax, relax. You can even say, internally, if you need something to kind of keep focused, think, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. Step two, while you're relaxing, breathing in, breathing out, I want you to say to the guides, please tell me what you want me to know. This is a statement of giving them the floor, giving them a platform, right? And it's kind of like stepping away from demanding something and instead saying to the person, you're the expert, what do you want me to know? And the guide steps into that expert position and goes, okay, good. Now that you've let go of worrying about that, what I need you to pay attention to is this, this, and this. And you go, well, wait a minute, I wasn't thinking about that. And then the second you think about that, now stuff starts to unfold and fall into place. They have the key bits of information you need. This is why you have the desire to communicate with them. So let's summarize this one, and then I want to give you one more before we wrap up. In summary, this is going to be releasing from the agreed upon reality, releasing from all preconceived notions on how this is going to unfold, and then saying to the guides, what is it you would like me to know about my path? You can change the sentence. It doesn't have to be exact. You can say, I'm here. I'm grateful. Thank you for being here with me. Please show me a sign. Show me something that you want to show me. Whatever you say to give them the floor to help you, that's going to open your guide communication quickly. One last tip around this one. Set your intention to do this 5 minutes a day for a month. Okay, I know I don't usually ask for a lot, but I'm going to ask for a lot on this one. Because if you commit to doing this once a day, 5 minutes a day for an entire month, it's almost going to force you to let go of your impatience on how quickly it will happen. Okay? that's just, you know what? No matter what happens, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes a day. Doesn't matter if I don't hear anything for the first 6 days, I will hear something for the last 24. Just know that you're going to do this for an entire month. Some days you're going to get a lot, some days you're going to get nothing. Just know that. And that's going to release all of the tension to make it happen. And that's going to make it happen a little bit faster. Now, I want to leave you with one more. And this is a very popular one. This talks about, and like I mentioned earlier in the episode here, I'm doing a thorough class on guide communication because there's so much. But in this session, I'm pulling out the 2 that I think are the most important that you can start right now, right? And the first one is that the agreed upon reality, releasing it, and then giving your guides the floor. The second one here is differentiating between how many guides you have, maybe even what their names are, what you should call them, and what their purpose is to be with you in this moment. Our guides change over time. Sometimes we have guides that are with us for the entire time, and some guides come and go. It depends on what's going on in our life at the time. So with that said, differentiating. This is a tool that I teach in the SAGE method, and it's a really popular one. People use it on an ongoing basis because, again, your guides can change as you go. But in essence, the differentiating tool for guide communication and learning who your guides are is to find a room, right, that's kind of open and spacious, all by yourself, nothing to distract you. Your fur babies can be in there, cats, dogs, that's fine, right? Just your own time, right? Collect a handful of pieces of paper, maybe like 4 or 5 of them, right? And 4 or 5 pens. And I want you to start by standing in the middle of the room with your paper and pencils, pens, crayons, doesn't matter, writing utensil. And I want you to stand in the middle of the room, and I want you to just close your eyes, relax, and ask the first intuitive question. How many guides are in the room? Right? And go with your initial gut feeling. If you feel 1, cool. 2, great. 3, great. 4, you're probably not going to feel much more than that, simply because they're going to want to help you with this differentiating exercise. So let's say that the number that pops in is 3, and you're like, okay, I feel like there's 3 guides with me right now. I want you to take 3 of those pieces of paper and put them in 3 different corners of the room. Leave a nice little pen or pencil on each as well. So 3 pieces of paper, 3 writing utensils in 3 different corners in the room. Each corner has 1 piece of paper, 1 writing utensil. Now you go back, set all the rest of them to the side. Now it's just you in the middle of the room. Take a deep breath again. I want you to just relax in and say, okay, there are 3 guides in the room right now. I would like to communicate with 1 guide. Please direct me where to go. And you will be pulled in the direction of one of those 3 pieces of paper. When you are pulled in that direction, walk over to the paper, write down on that paper anything that you feel, see, or hear, right? You might be warm, cold, you feel light, you feel heavy, you see the color blue, you hear the word cat, just random. Don't try to make sense of it at this point in the exercise. Just write it down. Okay, go back to the room when you feel like you've kind of run that course. Go back to the middle of the room and repeat this. Do this 6, 7, 8 times until you at least have something on each piece of paper. If one piece of paper gets absolutely neglected, that's okay. There are no right or wrong here. Right? When you feel like you've done enough of this, and we're not worrying about the names of our guides yet, when you feel like you've done enough of this, go ahead then and collect the 3 pieces of paper and line them up right in front of you side by side. Acknowledge that each of these pieces of paper represent one of your guides. And what you scribble down with passion and care on each piece of paper represents who they are, or why they're with you, or how they're connected to you, or what part of their life is important that they're supporting you through. This is where you can sit with each of those pieces of paper with the intent of sitting with that individual guide that is represented on that piece of paper and start to open a communication with them and feel their unique energy style, feel their unique energy imprint, feel what it's like to communicate with them one-on-one. This is going to help you differentiate between the 3 different guides. Now, quick note about names, and then we're going to wrap this session up. Guides, when it comes to names, don't get too hung up on this. If they give you a name, that's great. If they don't, go ahead and give them a name. If they're going to push back on it, they will. I've had that happen. And then you can change the name choice. But more often than not, the name is going to be more important to you than it is to them. Remember, each of us comes down here and we just go to a whole bunch of different lifetimes in a whole bunch of different places, and we've had numerous lifetimes. Most of our guides are going to be also souls who have had numerous lifetimes. So when you ask them what their name is, a common response to that, or an energetic feel to that, is, well, which one? Which name do you want me to use? Because names aren't going to be as important to them as they are to us, because we are the ones here on linear time. Okay. In summary, your guides love you unconditionally. They are going to get you where you want to go. It might not look exactly the way you want it to look, but they have the overall picture. Be on the team, not demanding of the team. Differentiate them with that exercise. You can do that exercise multiple times. Like I said, it's in the Sage Method course itself because it's such a powerful exercise. And disconnect from the agreed upon reality, relax your gaze, relax into the spiritual source, and stay open to how they communicate with you. All of these today are going to get you started on your guide communication journey. It will either start it for you, it'll warm you up to it, or it will improve the guide communication you already have.